The banks crushed silver to 61.96. They want you to believe the rally's over. They want you to believe this was just a speculative bubble that popped. They're lying. Not a small lie, a lie of omission so massive it borders on criminal negligence. While you watched the ticker yesterday, while algorithms dumped paper contracts in New York, something happened in South Korea that makes the price of silver irrelevant. Something that changes the physics of the global energy transition. Samsung SDI just confirmed specs for their solid-state battery line. Media's talking 900-mile range, 9-minute charging. But they're missing the most explosive detail. The detail Wall Street hasn't priced in. The detail that makes 1.1 billion ounces look like a rounding error. The secret ingredient isn't lithium, it isn't cobalt, it's silver. To understand why this news is an extinction-level event for silver supply, you need to understand a little chemistry. Don't worry, I'll keep it simple. For 30 years, the world has run on lithium-ion batteries. Your phone, your laptop, the Tesla in your driveway, they all use liquid electrolyte lithium-ion cells. They're great, but they have a fatal flaw. It's called the dendrite. When you charge a lithium battery fast, or when you charge it too many times, the lithium ions start forming these needle-like crystals called dendrites. They grow like jagged roots inside the battery, piercing through the separator, the thin wall between the anode and cathode. When that happens, boom. Short circuit, thermal runaway, fire. This is why EVs take 45 minutes to charge. You have to go slow to prevent dendrites. This is why they catch fire. This is why they lose range in winter. The holy grail has always been the solid-state battery. No liquid, no fire risk, instant charging. Double the range. Every company from Toyota to Volkswagen has been chasing this for a decade. They all failed. Why? Because they couldn't stop the dendrites from forming on the anode. Graphite anodes didn't work. Silicon anodes expanded too much. Pure lithium metal anodes were too unstable. Then researchers at Samsung SDI found the solution. They discovered that one specific element, when applied as a nano-composite layer, completely solved the problem. It allowed lithium ions to move freely, but stopped the dendrites cold. It was stable, it was conductive, it was perfect. That element is silver. Specifically, a silver-carbon nano-composite layer. This isn't theory, this is published science. Samsung's prototype cells use a thin layer of silver mixed with carbon to regulate the deposition of lithium. The silver acts as a host for the lithium ions. It dissolves them evenly, preventing the spikes from forming. This allows the battery to be smaller, lighter, faster, and safer. But here's the catch, a massive catch. To make this battery work, you need silver, and you don't need micrograms of it, you need grams of it. For the first time in history, silver isn't just being used for its conductivity. It's being used as an active material in the electrochemical storage process. It's becoming part of the battery's DNA, and the auto industry is about to scale this technology to millions of cars. Do you see the problem yet? You might be thinking, okay, so they use a little silver. So what? Cars already use silver. Let me put this in context. Right now, a standard combustion car uses about 15 to 20 grams of silver. It's in the window switches, the seat motors, the defrosters, the ECU. An electric vehicle uses more, about 30 to 50 grams. It's in the inverters, the battery management system, the high voltage cables. This EV bump is already straining the market. It's part of the reason we have a 1.1 billion ounce deficit. But the solid-state battery changes the math entirely. We're not talking about switches anymore. We're talking about coating the anode of every single cell in a 1,000-pound battery pack. Early estimates from the Samsung papers suggest the silver loading could be anywhere from 5 to 10 grams per kilogram of anode material. Some aggressive estimates suggest it could be as high as half a kilogram to 1 kilogram of silver per vehicle for high-performance, long-range packs. Let's be conservative. Extremely conservative. Let's assume it adds just 50 grams of silver per car. That brings the total silver per EV to roughly 100 grams. There are 90 million cars produced globally every year. If just 10% of them switch to solid-state batteries, that's 9 million cars. 9 million cars times 100 grams equals roughly 29 million ounces of new silver demand. That sounds manageable, right? But that's at 10% adoption with conservative numbers. What if it's 50% adoption? What if the silver loading is actually 200 grams per car? If Toyota, Samsung, and Volkswagen hit their targets of mass-producing solid-state EVs by 2027 or 2028, we could see automotive demand for silver jump from 90 million ounces a year to 200 or 300 million ounces a year. Where does that 200 million ounces come from? Does it come from the COMEX? The COMEX only has 30 million ounces left in registered inventory. Does it come from the miners? Global mining is flat at 830 million ounces. This single technology, the silver-carbon anode, has the potential to consume 25 to 35% of the entire global mine supply just for car batteries. That leaves zero silver for solar panels, zero for electronics, zero for jewelry, zero for you. And Samsung just confirmed they're building the pilot line. The timeline has accelerated. This isn't a 2035 story. This is right now. While banks smashed the price to $61 on Friday, Samsung procurement officers were likely locking in long-term supply contracts with miners. They know the math. They know that if they don't secure the silver now, their billion-dollar battery factories are worthless. This represents a fundamental change in the nature of demand. In the past, silver was an industrial spice. You sprinkled a little on a circuit board. Because the amount was so small, price didn't matter. If silver went from $20 to $100, the cost of an iPhone only went up by 50 cents. Apple didn't care. But with solid-state batteries, silver becomes structural. It becomes a major line item. If a battery pack requires 500 grams of silver at $60 an ounce, that's $1,000 worth of silver in every car. At $100 an ounce, that's $1,600. This terrifies auto manufacturers. They operate on razor-thin margins. A $600 cost increase per vehicle destroys their profit. So what's their strategy? Thrifting. They'll try to use less silver. They'll try to engineer it out. But here's the problem. Chemistry is stubborn. You can't cheat the electron. If you reduce the silver, the dendrites come back. If the dendrites come back, the car catches fire. Would you buy a solid-state battery if you knew it had a 5% chance of exploding in your garage? No. Samsung knows this. Toyota knows this. They can't thrift the silver out without sacrificing safety, so they're stuck. They're hostage to the periodic table. This makes the demand inelastic. Two massive global industries, energy and transportation, are simultaneously pivoting to technologies that require massive amounts of silver, and they're colliding with a supply chain that's been starved of capital for a decade. Friday's price drop to $61 is laughable in this context. The math gets scary from here. Let's run the extinction equation. Start with the base case. The world today before Samsung's silver bomb fully detonates. Total global mine supply, 830 million ounces per year. Recycling supply, 180 million ounces. Total supply, 1.1 billion ounces. Now look at demand before solid-state batteries. Industrial demand, solar, electronics, automotive, 600 million ounces. Jewelry and silverware, 200 million ounces. Investment demand, coins, bars, ETFs, 250 million ounces. We're already in deficit. We're burning roughly 50 to 100 million ounces of reserves every year just to keep the lights on. Now introduce the Samsung scenario, moderate adoption. By 2028, 20% of new EVs use solid-state batteries. Conservative silver loading, 50 grams per vehicle. Global car production, 90 million units. EV market share, 40%. 36 million EVs. 20% use solid-state batteries, 7.2 million cars. 7.2 million times 1.6 ounces equals 11.5 million ounces of new demand. 11.5 million ounces. That hurts, but it doesn't break the world. But that assumes tiny, efficient cars. What about a Ford F-150 Lightning, a Cybertruck? Those battery packs are massive. They might use 500 grams. If the average silver loading is 200 grams and adoption hits 50% of EVs, rerun the numbers. 18 million cars times 6.4 ounces equals 115 million ounces of new demand per year. 115 million ounces, that's more than Peru's entire annual production. That's another solar industry appearing overnight. Where does that 115 million ounces come from? The market's already in deficit. The vaults are already empty. Only two places it can come from. Number one, price destruction. The price goes so high, people stop buying jewelry. Number two, investment cannibalization. The price goes so high, you sell your coins to Samsung. This is the extinction equation. Total supply is less than solar plus electronics plus solid-state batteries. Industrial demand alone threatens to consume 100% of mine supply. If that happens, silver ceases to be a monetary metal available to the public. It becomes a critical strategic material reserved for industry. You won't be able to buy it. It will be unobtainable. But the skeptics scream, we'll just recycle. We'll take the old silver out of old cars. This is the recycling myth. Gold is recycled at 90%. Why? It's concentrated. Silver is recycled at less than 20%. Why? Dispersion. Silver is the vampire dust of industry. It's sprinkled in microscopic amounts across billions of devices. 0.1 grams in your phone, 0.5 grams in your laptop, a thin film in a solar panel. It costs more to extract than it's worth, so it goes to the landfill. We're literally burying billions of ounces back into the earth in a form that's impossible to mine. Now consider the solid-state battery. Yes, it has more silver, but you don't recycle a car battery next year. You recycle it in 15 years. The silver that goes into a Samsung battery in 2026 is locked away until 2041. It's removed from the supply pool for a generation. The recycling wave everyone's hoping for won't arrive in time to save us from the shortage of the late 2020s. The deficit is structural. The consumption is destructive. The sequestration is long-term. The only solution is more mining. But can we just dig more? If silver hits $100, surely miners will flood the market, right? Wrong. This is the geological wall. You can't print a silver mine. It takes 10 to 15 years from discovery to production. If we found a massive deposit today, it wouldn't produce until 2035. But Samsung needs the silver now, and the existing mines, they're dying. Ore grade has collapsed. In 2005, a good mine had 15 ounces per ton. Today, 4 ounces per ton. We dig 4 times more rock for the same silver. That requires more diesel, more water, more labor. It's exponentially harder and more expensive. And politics. Mexico produces 25% of the world's silver. The Mexican government stopped issuing new open-pit mining permits. Peru faces constant strikes. Russia is sanctioned. Precisely when the silver-carbon anode demands 100 million new ounces, global mining supply threatens to shrink. This is a pincer movement. Demand exploding, supply collapsing, inventory buffer gone, no relief valve, no elasticity. The only thing that can give is the price. This leads to a fascinating paradox, the EV paradox. Governments around the world have mandated the end of the internal combustion engine. They've legally forced the transition to EVs. They're subsidizing battery factories, but they forgot to check the periodic table. If silver goes to $200 an ounce, the cost of the solid-state battery skyrockets. The EV becomes unaffordable for the average person. The transition stalls. But governments can't let the transition stall. They've bet their political reputations on net zero. They've signed international agreements. They've passed legislation with deadlines. So what will they do? They'll subsidize the silver, or they'll seize the silver. We've talked about the Defense Production Act in previous contexts. This is where it becomes real. If General Motors tells the White House, we can't build the cars you mandated because we can't get silver, the White House doesn't say, okay, forget the cars. The White House says, we will get you the silver. They'll declare silver a critical strategic material. They'll prioritize industrial allocation over retail investment. They might ban the sale of silver eagles to the public to divert that metal to battery factories. This is the nightmare scenario for the stacker who didn't buy yet. You won't be competing with a high price. You'll be competing with a government mandate. Samsung isn't just a company in South Korea. It's the economy. The South Korean government will move heaven and earth to ensure Samsung has silver. The US government will do the same for Tesla. The German government will do the same for Volkswagen. The silver-carbon anode makes silver a matter of national security, and national security always trumps the free market. Look at history. In 1971, Nixon closed the gold window. In 1980, the Hunt brothers tried to corner the silver market. The government changed the rules overnight. In 2020, during the pandemic, governments seized medical supplies, restricted exports, controlled distribution. You're not just competing with Samsung's checkbook. You're competing with geopolitical power. And when the governments of the world decide that silver is essential to their energy transition, they will do whatever it takes to secure it. The auto industry is hostage to the periodic table. And when you're hostage, you don't negotiate. You comply. The window is closing. So we have the tech, we have the math. The conclusion is undeniable. Structural, unsolvable shortage. But how do you profit from this? Friday's drop to $61 scared a lot of weak hands. But if you understand the Samsung scenario, you realize that $61 is a pricing error. Why? Because Wall Street is looking at spreadsheets from 2020. They're not reading Samsung's white papers. They're not talking to battery engineers in Seoul. This information asymmetry is your edge. Right now, Korean engineers are running calculations. Asian sovereign wealth funds are reading these reports. But retail investors in the West, they're panicking because the chart turned red. You are calm because you know what's coming. Here's the playbook. 3 lanes. Lane 1, physical metal. This is your insurance policy. But in an industrial squeeze, the rules change. For years, dealers pushed semi-numismatics, collectible coins, fancy designs. They told you these hold value better, maybe in a normal market. But we're entering an industrial vacuum. When Samsung needs silver for a battery, they don't care if it has a bald eagle on it. They don't care about MS70 grading. They care about the atom. They need raw silver to melt into nanopowder. In a true shortage, the premium on collectibles collapses. Why? The industrial buyer sets the floor. If spot goes to $100, melt value is $100. Nobody's paying $150 for collectability when the world is starving for metal. The strategy: stop paying for art, start paying for weight. A 100-ounce bar is superior, lower premium, more silver per dollar. Your goal: accumulate maximum ounces before Samsung clears the shelf. Lane 2, mining stocks. This is where life-changing wealth is made if you pick right. But there's a trap. The hedging book. Imagine a miner that last year, when silver was $25, got scared. They sold 50% of future production at $30. Today, silver is $61. They're selling at $30. The bank keeps the difference. Their stock barely moves. Now imagine a different miner. They refuse to hedge. They sell every ounce at spot. Today, 61. Tomorrow, maybe 100. This creates operating leverage. If mining costs are $20, at $30 silver, they make $10 profit. At $100 silver, $80 profit. Price tripled. Profit went up 8 times. Stock goes up 10 or 20 times. The strategy: audit your miners, check quarterly reports, look for hedging and derivatives, see forward sales. Run. You want 100% unhedged exposure. And primary silver miners, companies that live by silver, not byproduct producers. Lane 3, geography. The US and EU require battery materials from friendly nations for EV tax credits. Silver from Russia or China: no credit. Silver from Nevada or Ontario: huge credit. This creates a 2-tier market. Clean silver versus dirty silver. The strategy: favor Tier 1 jurisdictions. Canada, USA, Australia. A mine in Idaho is worth 5 times more to Tesla than one in Bolivia, because Idaho is secure. Finally, the exit. Technology moves fast. The silver carbon anode will dominate for 5 to 10 years. But in 2035, maybe they invent graphene anodes using no silver. Commodity supercycles driven by tech last 7 to 10 years. Think uranium 2000s, think palladium. We're at year 0. You have runway. Stay vigilant. If headlines say Toyota invents silver-free battery, that's your signal. Until then, Samsung's bid is the floor. Friday's drop was a gift. We've arrived at the conclusion. If you've been with me through this entire deep dive, you now understand the full scope of the silver bomb, the technology, the math, the strategy. Now we stand on the precipice of a new week. It's Saturday, December 14th. Markets are closed. Price frozen at 61.50. Down from the highs, beaten by the banks, but still holding breakout structure. This weekend's silence is deceptive. While Western exchanges are dark, information is traveling. Engineers in South Korea are running calculations. Procurement officers in Germany are updating spreadsheets. Sovereign wealth funds in the Middle East are reading the same reports. The Paper Smash Friday gave the world a discount coupon, but that coupon expires Sunday night, 6 p.m. Eastern. When markets open Sunday evening, all eyes on one number: the SGE premium. The Shanghai Gold Exchange is the physical heartbeat of Asia. Unlike the COMEX, a paper casino, the SGE is physical delivery. You buy, you take metal. Right now, massive disconnect. Friday, COMEX smashed to 61.50. But in China, physical premium is exploding. Solar demand, battery tech news. Silver on Shanghai streets trades closer to $66, $67. See the opportunity? Global traders see silver for sale in New York at 61.50. Silver bid in Shanghai at 67. Risk-free profit of 5.50 per ounce. What do? Buy New York, sell Shanghai, arbitrage. The force that kills manipulation. To capture profit, they must buy COMEX contracts. Massive buying pressure closes the gap. Sunday night, I predict violent arbitrage execution. Asian markets know about Samsung. They're closer to supply chains. They see factories being built. They view Western drops as gifts. Here's the scenario. 6 p.m. Globex opens. Asian algorithms detect price disparity. They flood with buy orders, soaking up cheap 61.50 silver. Result, price gaps up instantly to 63, maybe 64. Friday's smash negated instantly. Banks who went short Friday. Underwater by Sunday dinner. Set stage for short squeeze part 2, Monday morning. Shanghai arbitrage is the policeman. It prevents the West from suppressing price too far below reality. And with Samsung news spreading, reality just got expensive. Now I need to prepare you for the mental battle. Next week will be brutal, not for price, for your emotions. Banks know they're in trouble. They know the Samsung narrative is spreading. They know vaults are empty. Their only weapon left? Volatility. They'll shake you out. You'll see days silver's up $3, days it's down 3. Motion sickness. They want you so stressed watching charts that you hit sell just to sleep. Don't fall for it. Does a $3 drop change battery chemistry? No. Does a margin hike change Samsung needing 100 million ounces? No. Does a CNBC headline put silver back in the ground? No. Fundamentals are inelastic. Price volatility is noise. Detach from the ticker. Check every 5 minutes. You're playing their game, renting space in your head. Instead, look at premiums. Spot drops to 60, but dealers charge 80. Drop is fake. Look at inventory. Spot drops, but out-of-stock banners stay. Drop is fake. Paper price will be weaponized. But physical reality is your shield. The banks crushed to 61.96. They want you to believe the rally's over. They want you to believe this was just a bubble. They're lying. While you watched the ticker, while algorithms dumped paper in New York, something happened in South Korea that makes the price irrelevant. Samsung confirmed solid-state specs, 900-mile range, 9-minute charging, but they're missing the explosive detail. The detail Wall Street hasn't priced, the detail that makes 1.1 billion ounce deficit a rounding error. The secret ingredient isn't lithium, isn't cobalt, it's silver. The banks are playing a paper game. Samsung is playing a physics game. Physics always wins. Don't let them shake you out. The revolution is just getting started.